in bodybuilding or physique?
I'm a physique competitor.
And how did you get into doing physique competitions?
Well, I've been working out for maybe 30 years. I mean, I started training really young as a teenager. And I think I always wanted to be strong. And the first competitor I ever seen was a figure competitor. Women's physique wasn't around at the time. Although I knew a lot about bodybuilding because when I was really young, I would watch Pump and Iron. I knew about men's bodybuilding, but I really didn't know that there were female bodybuilders. And when I saw this woman that was a competitor, I realized that's what I wanted my body to look like. I was always fascinated with muscle and strong women like Angela Bassett or Tina Turner. I mean, those are the women that I wanted to emulate. But I never knew any competitors. And when I saw that, I realized right then and there that's what I wanted to do.
And what do you love most about competing, and what's the most difficult thing about it?
What I love most about competing is the actual preparation. It's not really about the show itself. It's not about the competition. It's really about preparing for shows, and the amount of focus that it takes. It's kind of like, I don't want to say it's my escape. It's just kind of like my way of life. I've always been very disciplined and organized when it came to fitness because of my father. He started me in a world of fitness at a very young age. So it was just natural for me to go into this. So for me, when I'm competing, it's kind of a spiritual thing when I'm training, that whole process. And it gets me away from all the craziness, and it gives me something tangible to work towards, trying to get my body to be how I imagine it to be. And I think that process itself is the thing that I love most about it. And the actual show and competing, winning or losing, it's like that's just the icing on the cake. But it's all the stuff before it, everything that you go through, or how you have to struggle, and you have all these hurdles, and it's just like a lot of like tiny little races to get to one point, So I think that's what I love most about it. Is it's just the process.
What other activities do you do, like job, hobbies, passions?
I'm a personal trainer. Oh, you did ask me what is the hardest thing, what I don't like about it. Did you ask me that? Did I answer that question?
Yes, I guess you did. So what do you think is the most difficult thing about competing?
The most difficult thing about competing is probably everything outside of what you're doing. I mean, like, training is hard, but you learn and you get used to it, and it becomes like you're really regimented in your training. But I think trying to explain what you're doing to the world and the people around you, like, I can't eat that, I can't go there, I can't do anything random. Like, they're like, you can't just. It's a very disciplined and very organized and very regimented, and it's lonely, but you really get to know yourself, and that's really the hard part. Obviously the financial part, that's hard, but you also figure that out too. If you can figure out everything else that you go through, you can figure that out, but it's always, it's just this constant like struggle, and then these like rewards, and it's just a part of it. So that's probably the hardest part, is just trying to explain to the world like what you're doing, because a lot of people don't understand the sport. So that's the hardest part.
What other activities do you do, like job, hobbies, passions?
I'm a personal trainer, and I work out a lot. Hobbies, I love to buy workout clothes and shop. And I actually, my downtime, I play video games. I'm a gamer. A lot of people don't know that. Another lonely sport.
Do you have any dreams, big or small?
Yes. I've always wanted to go pro. 11 years ago, that was my main dream. Um, and I think, so it's like a hard question, but um, I think competing for 11 years and going through different things, trying to get there, um, it's still the same dream, but with life and everything that happens, sometimes you're going to get there, but the more you do, the harder you work, things still happen, and things get in the way, and then you're still pushing, and you still kind of feel like you're going against the grain, and you're only good as your last show. It's kind of like that kind of thing. So for a long time, I was really comfortable with, I placed top 5, or I did the best I can, and I don't want that anymore. I want to win, So that was for me to admit that, that's basically me being vulnerable and saying, I really want to win. But before, it was always like, I'm going to do the best I can. And I used to always tell my father, he would say, are you going to win this one? And I'm like, I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to train hard. And now it's turned into something else because of everything that I sacrificed. I want to win. So that is the dream. And I think now I'm admitting to that even more, saying I want to win, because it just makes you more vulnerable. But I know I want to win. I want to go pro. I want to go to the Olympia. I want to finish this thing. And I've been backstage at the Olympia. I know how I feel when I'm there. I'm excited. I feel like I'm at home. It makes sense, being around all those people that, worked really hard to get there, and being around the athletes is something I understand. And then, for once, I'm not alone. And I really respect the sport, and that is my dream, to go pro and become Miss Olympia.
Have you ever been in love, or have you loved unconditionally, like a love for a parent or child? And can you talk about that? I've been in love, but unconditional love. I've I've only experienced that with my father. Sorry. So, yeah. My dad passed away 3 years ago while getting ready for nationals. He's the reason why I do what I do, and so I would say that was my one true unconditional love. I love, and I've been in love, but unconditional love. I don't have kids, so yeah, that was my true love. My dad. Have you ever been hurt, and can you talk about that experience? Yes, I've been hurt. I've been hurt on the court. I've been hurt in life. I think, I have been doing, this has been competing, training, all of this has been such a big part of my life, and, even my job and training people, everything that I give, and everything that my purpose is really this. And I think the thing that hurt me most was sacrificing so much, especially while my dad was sick. I got 2014. I was getting ready for nationals, and prep is normally about 22, 24 weeks out, and about I don't know, it's maybe I can't remember how many weeks out, but my dad went ill, and he was suffering from Alzheimer's for a while, but he was functioning, and while I was away,
He fell. I was training, or I think maybe at one of the shows, he fell and he broke his hip. And so after his surgery, his hip surgery, he didn't recover. So he was in the hospital for 11 months while I was training for nationals. So it was hard because he was always my advocate of what I do, but he can I get one of those tissues? Sorry. He was always an advocate for what I do and competing and training. So with him being in the position he was in, it seemed like the people around him felt like I should have been there. But I knew my dad would want me training. I knew he would want me to get, I was there, but I couldn't be there full time, you know, getting ready for the sport, getting ready for the show. So I think that hurt me more, and it's something that, you know, because I compete and I'm still going, and you know, you can't let, you can't, you gotta keep pushing no matter what. But, you know, going through that while my dad was dying was the hardest thing I ever had to do. And after competing, I did the USA's, and that was in July. And then after the USA's, I went to nationals, and then my dad passed away in November. I the next year got ready, tried to get ready for another show. And 6 months after my dad passed away, my stepmom passed away. So yeah, that was crazy.
What sacrifices have you made for the sport?
Sacrifice, so many that I probably don't even know. Relationships, friendships. You know, the people that are your true friends, they really understand, but you don't get to see them. You know they're there if you need them. But you're training. I train 4 hours a day. Your meal prep, you gotta rest. Everything is really regimented and focused. You don't eat what everybody else eats. Everything's just different. Financially, there's a great sacrifice because you can't work. Like I do work. I work full time. You know, maybe 6-8 hours training people, but then I'm training in between that time. I'm trying to get my rest in. That's another hard thing. I might be sleeping 4 hours a day, but I'm training myself 4 hours, training clients because I need to, take care of myself so I can continue to do what I love. So you sacrifice a lot, financially, emotionally, but it is a great sacrifice, but it's priceless. It's a sacrifice that's worth making. I mean, the quality of life is just amazing, I think,
Anything else you want to share?
I really would be excited to do this film. When I read the treatment, of course I was crying. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, do they know me? But one of the things that I've always wanted to do was to bring a better understanding to what we go through as female competitors. A lot of people, they don't get it. They don't see it. They don't understand it. I think if people understood what sacrifices competitors make, it actually can make the sacrifices that they're being asked to make so much easier. Like when someone's waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning to do their cardio, and they got a bad hip, or they're injured, or they didn't sleep, or they've had losses, they've had disappointments, but they still physically get up and do something that most people wouldn't be able to do or go through, it gives other people strength to do what they need to do. So I think that that would be a really great opportunity. So that's it. Yay! Thank you.